The first test. Where did it all go wrong for England and where did it go so right for the Australians? It was at Perth Stadium, a new record test crowd in to watch the Ashes. 52,500 people there on day one. It was absolutely incredible. The stadium is so impressive. Let's not beat around the bush here. Amazingly impressive. But it's not the Wacker. It's not the Wacker. It's not where the history is. It's just a big bowl of a stadium. And I don't know how I feel about that. Not sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit of a traditionalist. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's break down how it went so wrong for England, what went right for Australia, are they going to make any changes, what my thoughts on the various different moments were and stuff like that. And if you're new, please subscribe and like this because there is going to be so much more Ashes content coming across on here, on Instagram and on TikTok too. But first of all, I just want to let you know that I've started this new business called Cow Corner Comps, and basically I'm giving away a GM Diamond Original this week. It's £2.50 a ticket. It's capped at 400 tickets. You stand an amazing chance to get hold of it. It's £2.09, which is the perfect weight. It looks like an absolute belter. Picks up beautifully as well. And yeah, the winner will be drawn on the weekend coming. Get yourself stuck in and good luck. And if you go via the link in the description and use the code or whatever, there's going to be some extra benefits for you, some extra tickets, some extra bonuses. Anyway, the toss. England won it. Ben Stokes won it. And he said, we'll have a bat first. Now, with all of the build up to this test match, everybody was just saying how hard of a pitch this was going to be to battle. The curator, the ground staff, whatever you want to call him, was saying it was hard. History says it's hard. What happened 12 months ago against India? And I was shocked, genuinely shocked that England won the toss and elected to have a bat first. One, because of that. Two, because they love chasing, apparently. That's the way that this Bazball team work. And then the thing that I was even more surprised about was the fact that Steve Smith said he'd bat first as well. And I couldn't quite kind of pick the bones out of it, and I didn't understand it. As it turns out, England muddled around for about 170 in that first innings. Harry Brooks scored 50. It was an amazing 50, like an incredible 50. It was under pressure. He was running down the wicket at Mitchell Starc and tracking him back over his head for 6. I thought Ollie Pope batted pretty well in that first innings, as did Ben Duckett at the top of the order. But everything just happened so quickly, and the ball did a lot, as everybody kind of knew it was going to do. And it makes it even more perplexing as to why the decision was to bat first. And I don't understand that. And I really don't. I'd love to know with hindsight whether anybody would have changed that kind of thought process or decision. Anyway, that's what happened in that England first innings. Mitchell Starc bowled like an absolute dream, didn't he? I mean, without Josh Hazlewood, without Pat Cummins, they needed another leader to stand up for the Australians. And Mitch Starc went, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that for you. The left arm pacer, who's getting on to, what is he now, 36, 37 years old now for Mitchell Starc, bowled some of the best deliveries I've ever seen in my life. It finished with 7 which was his best bowling figures in a test match. We'll go too far, we won't go too far ahead, but finished with 10 in the match. The one wicket in particular, the one of Joe Root, where he got dismissed for naught, you have to be one of the best batters in the world to get any bat on that, at all. Anybody else misses it, and possibly they're not out, but it's a phenomenal spell of bowling. Absolutely incredible. And ultimately kind of set the tone really for what we saw through the rest of the test match. It was always going to be a high pace, scary seam bowling day, and the batters struggled. And they struggled, and Australia did as well. Jake Weatherald, if you could put together or paint an image of the worst kind of test debut in history, the fact that there's going to be stills and pictures of Jake Weatherald face down at Perth Stadium, having been shinned by Jofra Archer, second ball of the day, I think you're going to struggle to find a worse picture than that. But yeah, it started off incredibly well. Then Marnus and Steve Smith hung around for an age, barely laying a bat on anything from Jofra, from Wood, from Bryden Cast, from Gus Atkinson. There was some statistic out there saying that that opening spell on day one was the best England have ever bowled since the analytical ball tracking or ball placing technology or recording has been a thing. And they bowled Australia out eventually on the morning of day 2 with a lead of 40. And things were looking okay at At that point, they had a lead of 40 against the Australians at home in the first innings, despite being skittled for 170. They managed to skittle the Australians for considerably less, that final wicket being picked up in the first kind of 15 minutes of day 2. Travis Head batted pretty well, Cam Green batted pretty well. There were a couple of softies, those two in particular I felt gave their wickets away, and Alex Carey's dismissal was a bit soft as well, but he was running out of batting partners, so it's hard really to get too critical on the wicketkeeper batter that time around. Then it was England's time to bat again. Oh, and of course it was 19 wickets on the first day. Mad. And things were, well, Zach Crawley, I was just about to say things were going quite well. Zach Crawley registered a pair. Yep, a pair. And hopefully that's not a sign of things to come through the rest of the series. Hopefully he's resilient enough to get back to it. For what it's worth, I thought he shaped up pretty well during the course of the 11 balls that he might have faced. It was a hell of a catch by Mitchell Starc in the second innings to dismiss him, like on the follow through, one-handed, low to the wicket. Went upstairs for a long time to check whether any kind of grass had touched the ball, but it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant catch. Then we had a partnership. Those two, again, that looked good in the first innings, Ben Duckett, Ollie Pope, got us through to lunch. Got the England team through to lunch, one down, with a lead of, 100. We had a 100-run lead. That's how good and how easy it was going. And this England team threw it away. They lost 4 wickets for 15 runs. And I don't know what the Australians had for lunch, nor do I know what the England batters had for lunch, but those two were dismissed. Root was dismissed for 8 this time. Harry Brook dismissed without scoring. Ben Stokes tried to stick around and then was dismissed. And we were 76 for 5, England, before we even knew what had happened. And all the headlines now are talking about Bazball being reckless and they're struggling to enjoy it, and they should have pushed the Aussies into submission and all this other stuff. And I said on day 1 it was the first time I'd felt like a cricket fan at a cricket game for a long, long time with doing the work that I've done. And now I'm reliving this on the morning of what would have been day 3. I'm still that cricket fan. This time I'm just ever so disappointed with how that England batting lineup went about what they did on that day. Stark still bowled okay. Boland bowled better than what he did on day 1, and Doggett let go of the ball. None of them bowled incredible deliveries. England just played shots at quite literally everything and got themselves in so much trouble. It was reckless. It was reckless by this England's batting lineup. That is what it was. That's it. That's it. It was reckless, and they let Australia back into this game in a big way. Then Jamie Smith. Right, the Jamie Smith dismissal. Let's talk about that. Let's get that out of the way, and let's kind of just iron over it and get it sorted. I think, for what it's worth, and listen carefully, Jamie Smith hit it, it was out, and the eventual right decision based on what happened on the field was the correct one. Listen to that. Now listen to the next bit. It was then sent upstairs to the third umpire. And the picture frames and the snicko didn't line up. There was daylight between bat and ball when the spike on snicko came up on the screen. That is a factual statement. That is what happened. You can see it on the thumbnail, you can see it on the pictures. That is what it was. And it took ages for the third umpire to make that decision. Absolutely ages. So he was either going through and checking the laws and regulations of this third umpire snicko frame rate type situation, which seems ludicrous if that is the case. But if it took the length of time that it did, how with certainty did that umpire decide that that was out? I will say I don't think it would have impacted the outcome of the game either, so I'll get that caveat out there as well. Now, the frame rate situation, I've had a load of people giving me absolute pelters on social media about it. Get better cameras. That's it. I don't care. Like, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar sport around the world, and we're trying to sync up a continuous audio feed to a 24 frame per second camera. That's ridiculous. The thing I'm recording on records at a higher frame rate at the basic setting. Yes, you couldn't broadcast a cricket match with these cameras, or this one over here. But do better. Like, that's all it is. And it would have shown that he'd have nicked it at the same time. And there wouldn't have been this awkward kind of argument or back and forth about it. Quite frankly, and I'm not saying it's Australian cricket, and I'm not saying it's the broadcaster's fault exclusively here, but it is shockingly bad to think that there are millions and millions and millions of dollars or pounds or rupees or whatever, dirhams or whatever there might be, the local currency, and we're not using cameras that have an ability to shoot at a frame rate that is actually going to complement that technology. And if the technology and the cameras don't sync up together, then I think that brings another question in of why are they being used in the first place. But as I say, Jamie Smith, I think he hit it. He started to walk, and that shouldn't have impacted the decision of the third umpire either, because that's not his job. If you were caught speeding by the police officer and you said, yeah, sorry, that's me, I've made a mistake here, and then the evidence came back and said you were 3 miles an hour under the speed limit, you're not still just going to turn around and go, yeah, well, give me the fine and the 3 points on my license because I said I did it. That's stupid, and anybody who says that is stupid. Anyway, moving on. Then they were set, 205 to win, which Stokes and McCullum have come out and said that, oh yeah, we thought that was going to be a really tough chase on a pitch that was just flattening out and looking easier and easier to bat on as the day went on. It's just the fact that our lot batted like an absolute bunch of turkeys during the course of day 2. And then I witnessed the best test innings I think I've ever seen live or on TV at any time in the history of the sport. It was utterly brutal from Travis Head. And I'm still lost for words for it. His fastest Test 100, the joint third fastest Test 100 by an Australian in Test cricket history, the second fastest Ashes Test 100, second to that Adam Gilchrist 58 ball monster class that he hit, actually funnily enough, in WA a few years ago. And it was chanceless. There was not a chance involved in it at all. And it was incredible to watch, amazing to watch. It was sad to watch. But again, I was there at the stadium, I was on my feet, I was giving Travis Head the standing ovation that he deserved when he brought up his Test 100 and single-handedly won or chased down that 200. I won't say single-handedly won that game because 10 wickets for Mitch Starc would be unkind to dismiss that. But what an innings. What an innings. Australia go 1-0 up. And they've got a question to ask now as to whether they drop Usman Khawaja and keep Travis Head at the top of the order. I think they should. I think they should do that, and Bo Webster comes into the middle. I think their team looks stronger by doing it, and that's fine. England, I don't think the top 7 changes at all. They don't do anything about that top 7. They've got no options to bring in. Jacob Bathurst would be the player, but I mean, he'd be even more aggressive than what they've got, and Ollie Pope batted really well, so that would be silly to go and do that. The bowling-wise, it will just be a case of whether Mark Wood and Jofra Archer pull through it. If they don't, Josh Tong comes in for one of those two, and I don't see England picking Shoaib Bashir either. But they've got 2 weeks off now, a full 2 weeks off ahead of the second test in Brisbane, the pink ball test, which these England players, first of all, a lot of them haven't been on an Ashes tour, which I said was a positive, and I do genuinely think it is. And those that have played a pink ball test, they haven't played one and faced one for the last 4 years. So what's their preparation going to be like over the next 2 weeks? Can they bounce back in the Gabba against that pink ball with probably Hazelwood coming back, maybe Cummins, and of course Mitch Starc? This is going to be a tough comeback, but back the boys. And if you think it, do it.